Welcome to The Explainer. You know those huge, dense corporate reports? Well, today we're talking about a new piece of tech that's trying to turn them into something you can actually talk to. So let's start with a feeling we've all had. You know the one, right? You're digging for one specific number. Maybe it's a carbon emission target or a community investment figure, and it's just buried somewhere in this giant PDF. It's a headache anyone who's ever dealt with corporate disclosures knows all too well. For years, our best weapon was what? The search function? Hitting Control F and just praying a keyword would magically land us on the right page. But what we're exploring today is a massive shift, moving away from that whole clunky process to a future that's way more streamlined and conversational.
Okay, let's really get into the heart of the problem here. Companies pour thousands of hours, a ton of money, into these sustainability and ESG reports. But for the very people who need that info the most, investors, communities, you name it, they're often almost impossible to use effectively. First up, you've just got these overwhelming documents. We're talking lengthy, jargon-filled reports. And look, this isn't just a minor annoyance. It makes it genuinely hard for anyone to actually read them, let alone pull out the key details that really matter to them.
And because they're so huge, you get this data overload. The most critical ESG info, the very stuff that's supposed to create transparency, ends up buried deep inside these massive files. It's like finding a needle in a haystack of PDFs.
And the last piece of this frustrating puzzle? Fragmentation. The data you need isn't even in one place. It's scattered all over the place. Different policies, annual reports, impact assessments. Trying to piece together a single, clear picture of what a company's actually doing, it's a huge challenge.
Now, this is way more than just a bad user experience. This whole disclosure gap, as people call it, creates some serious real-world problems. It really starts to chip away at the very trust these reports are supposed to be building in the first place.
So here's the bottom line. When information is this hard to get to, you create a vacuum. And that vacuum, it fills up fast with confusion and mistrust. Think about it. Grievances from local communities, sometimes just written down in a logbook, can literally disappear. And in today's world, just saying, oh, the proof is on page 87 of our report, isn't going to cut it when people are accusing you of greenwashing.
But what if we could flip the script on this whole thing? What if we could stop the one-way data dump and start a real, two-way conversation between a company and its stakeholders?
It all comes down to this one simple but kind of revolutionary question. What if you could just talk to the report? I mean, instead of you having to search the document, what if the document could just search itself for you and give you a straight answer? And here it is. This is what that solution looks like in action. It's a simple, smart assistant that just sits right there on a company's website. Now, it might look like any other chatbot, but it is so much more powerful. You can think of it as a direct hotline to all the data that's been locked away in those PDFs. So, this is Disclose AI. And notice that little detail in the description, designed by ENS experts? That's super important. This isn't just some generic AI they pulled off the shelf. It's a purpose-built tool designed to transform those static reports into a resource that investors, communities, and employees can actually use and trust. All right, so how does this thing actually work under the hood? Let's take a peek at the tech that breaks data out of that, PDF prison and builds a more trustworthy system while it's at it.
For the person asking the question, it's incredibly simple. You just ask a question in plain English, or whatever your language is, like, what's your Scope 3 reduction target? The AI then instantly scans only the verified company documents. That part's key. It gives you a direct answer, and then, and this is the absolute game changer for building trust, it tells you exactly where it found it, down to the page and the paragraph.
Now, on the other side of things, the company has total control. They can customize how it looks to match their brand, sure, but way more importantly, they control the knowledge base. They get to decide exactly which documents the AI learns from. This makes sure the story stays on message and is based only on what they've officially disclosed.
Okay, this slide is huge. This is the core trust feature right here. You know how some of the big open AI models can sometimes, just make stuff up? They call it hallucinating. This system is built to never do that. If the answer isn't in the documents you gave it, it won't guess. It only reports what's actually there. And the whole thing is designed from the ground up to be accessible and solid. The answers are always verified. Any grievances that come in are logged with a secure digital trail, which is a huge deal for regulators. And with features like multilingual support and even voice commands, it's really breaking down barriers for people all over the world. So why does any of this matter? What's the big deal?
Well, the impact goes way beyond just getting quick answers. This fundamentally changes the whole relationship between a company and the public.
This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? Verified answers? That builds trust. A digital audit trail? That's your defense against greenwashing accusations. But check out that last row, sentiment tracking. By looking at the kinds of questions people are asking, a company can actually get an early warning about emerging social risks before they blow up. And that's how this whole thing shifts from being a defensive chore to a proactive, strategic tool. I love this quote. It really just nails the core idea. For decades, companies have been publishing for the shelf. You make the report, you check the box, and it goes on a shelf to collect dust. The goal now is to publish for engagement, to turn these dead documents into living resources that actually spark a conversation.
And that leaves us with a really powerful thought to end on. When finding the information is no longer the hard part, the conversation completely shifts. It moves to the quality of the information itself. So a technology like this doesn't just make things easier to find, it raises the entire bar for transparency and accountability for everyone. A pretty fascinating future to think about, right?